When I was in D.C., I sat down with the brand new Senate Majority Leader John Thune of South Dakota. We talked about enacting President Trump's agenda, how he's different than Mitch McConnell, keeping Republicans unified, and much more. Take a look. Senate Majority Leader Thune, congratulations, by the way.
Thanks, Sean.
You just swore in two more, so you're officially at 53?
Right.
Not too bad. You had a lot of meetings today, two specifically with President Trump.
Right.
One was just you, Speaker Johnson, and the President. Give us every detail.
Well, we covered a lot of ground, and the president obviously now he's in charge, and it's a great feeling to have him back in the Oval Office and be able to work with somebody who shares the objectives, and we have a shared vision for where we want to go for the country. He wants to obviously renew American energy dominance. He wants to secure the border. He wants to rebuild our military. He wants to strengthen our economy, make sure that we don't have a $4.5 trillion tax increase at the end of the year. So these are all things that we agree on, and just the EOs in the first day. I mean, the tremendous amount of action he's already taken, and I think the people across the country are reacting really well to it. So a lot of it today was kind of about how we get there. So it's the strategy, the tactics, etc. But we're all heading the same direction.
It seems different than 2017, in that there seemed to be more Republican reluctance, resistance to President Trump. Not anymore. Am I right in that perception?
Yeah, I think that's a fair. I mean, and part of it is, I think you can't help but notice what happened in the country. I mean, he made history this year, and it was a decisive mandate given to him by the American people. And so I think that it's on all of us in response to that to make sure that we're being good partners with him to accomplish his agenda.
Let me read to you. Insider Advantage came out with a poll, and it was very telling. It just came out last hour. And it says, the question was, I want you, meaning a representative, senators and congressmen, to vote in unison to help pass President Trump's appointees and legislative agenda. 70% of people want that. Do your fellow members in the Senate, the members of the House, especially in the House, which we'll talk at length about, do they understand that the agenda is that agenda? Nobody's ever going to get everything that they want. I might shock some people. People in Washington don't usually get everything that they want. But do your members, rank and file, do they seem to know that?
They do, and I think they also know that Trump's endorsements can become the gold standard. And so if you're a House member, you're running every 2 years, or even a senator running every 6 years, just the way that he has resonated with the American people, his message about getting America back on the rails, back on track, I think has been a powerful one, and I think that the country's responded, and because of that, I believe members of Congress, both House and the Senate, get that we have a window of opportunity here, which doesn't come along very often, and sometimes doesn't last very long. I mean, we got the House, the Senate, and the White House. We have unified control of the government. That's a rare thing. We want to maximize it, and it's going to take every vote in the House, as we talked about.
In the Senate, the names I hear most often that people worry about, Susan Collins, who, I guess to her credit, remains the only Republican out of New England at this point. I'm hoping maybe Scott Brown will get in, and he might run in New Hampshire. I think he'd have a good chance there. We'll see. Or maybe Governor Sununu. Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and your predecessor, Mitch McConnell. Have you spoken with those three?
Well, I speak to most of them fairly regularly, and in the job I had prior, which was the whip in the Senate, I had to, on any given day, of course, in the last couple of 4 years, we were playing defense more than offense. Now it's about moving the agenda, so we got to get everybody on the team rowing in the same direction. So yeah, we talk to them regularly, and as we move through the nominations, we'll have more conversations, obviously, with them. As you said, Susan represents a state. She's the only Republican in New England, and she's the only person that can win in the state of Maine. And so obviously they all bring their own views to this. And I tell senators, your vote is your vote. Be with the team when you can. Don't ever surprise us. Don't tell us one thing and do something else. And so we try and make sure that as much as we can, we've got everybody pulling together. And I think right now there's more of an incentive than we've ever had before. We've got a president who came in with a big mandate. We clearly have things we need to do to just respond to what the American people are telling us and told us in this election. And that is that they're tired of this left-leaning, progressive, when it comes to energy, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to cultural issues, this idea of, boys playing girls' sports. I think, 90% of the American public says that's just wrong. Yeah. And the Democrats seem to be clinging to some of those views. And I think that, so I don't think, no matter where you come from in the country, I think a lot of what President Trump campaigned on, a lot of that we want to accomplish, I think is going to be a winning issue.
Mitch McConnell had his issues with Donald Trump. Donald Trump had his issues with Mitch McConnell. I don't think there's any reason to rehash any of that. However, Mitch McConnell is in a very unique position in as much as he knows how hard your job is.
Right.
Because he seems to be a question mark, especially on some of these cabinet picks, and I want to go over those with you. Have you had the conversation, Mitch, I'm really going to need your help. You know how hard this job can be. And he's from Kentucky. It's not like he's from a blue state in any way.
Right. I think that he understands his job, obviously, and I expect that he will be doing everything he can to help the team, make sure that we're successful. He obviously has strong views on national security, foreign policy.
The most interesting Democrat that I see right now, and the person that seems the most independent, is John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. He supported Israel. He's supporting closing the borders. Obviously, he's very pro-energy, being from Pennsylvania and fracking. But he also been outspoken that he believes a president should get the cabinet of his choice. Have you developed a relationship yet with him?
Not as much as I should, and I need to. But we do have, I know members on our side who are talking to Senator Fetterman, and I've been impressed by, as you point out, many of the positions that he's taken. Because
I have to confess, I was wrong about him on a lot of things. I was deep in the pain for us.
Well, I think we all were, when he first got here, assuming he was going to be a sort of a far left progressive, and I think he surprised a lot of people with positions that some of which you mentioned. And we've got to find some of those Democrats, obviously, that we can work with. And I think that Democrats who are going to run 2 years from now, they're not up for re-election, are likely candidates too, to maybe be supporters of at least some of President Trump's agenda. Because I think the American people, right now, they're on our side.
I've been doing this for a while, and I've heard over the years that we want to limit the size and scope and influence of government in our lives, cut out waste, fraud, and abuse. This to me seems like you've heard about it a lot too. This seems to me to be an opportunity that maybe we'll never get again in our lifetime. And President Trump has appointed Elon Musk. He's working outside the government to identify areas of waste, fraud, and abuse, including the elimination of departments. He believes he can cut $2 trillion out of spending. We have nearly $40 trillion in debt. Is that something you think is so transformative that Senate Republicans are willing? We give lip service to these things, right? Limited government, greater freedom, eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, right? Here's the opportunity. Well, does the Republican Party truly stand for that? Isn't that a test now that's coming their way?
It is. I mean, I think a limited, smaller, more efficient, more effective government has always been an aspiration for Republicans. And what I've noticed in the time I've been here is every spending fight that we have, Democrats want to spend more, Republicans want to spend less. And because of the rules in the Senate, which require 60 votes and some Democrats to get anything done, it's harder to squeeze spending, but I think we have, as you point out, a unique opportunity here. We have a House, Senate, White House, and unified control of the government. We can use reconciliation to do some of these things, and we ought to be looking as hard as we can through DOGE and other ways of doing that, and of course, including Congress and the role that we play in all this, to try and reduce the size of government and reduce what in my view is the consolidation and centralization of power in Washington. I'm a big believer in distributed power. I think you get it out of Washington, you get it back
education
closer to people. Absolutely. I mean, I think that is a perfect example of what we ought to be able to do, to block grant a lot of that responsibility, decision making back to state and local levels, and get it back in the hands of the American people. And Democrats through the Inflation Reduction Act, or so-called Inflation Reduction Act, American Rescue Plan, did what they usually do when they have control of Washington. They grow government. They believe that government has all the answers, has all the solutions. And I think just fundamentally, that's at odds not only with what makes sense from a common sense standpoint, but I think it's at odds with where the American people are.
and we have more Hannity straight ahead. All right, unfortunately, that is all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. Thank you for making this show possible. Please set your DVR so you never, ever, ever, ever miss an episode of Hannity.